For the longest time, these kids were treated like complete nobodies, but after unfortunate accidents led them to discovering ghostly powers, they'd use their newfound abilities to either save the day from other villainous ghosts, or simply make some new friends.
That's right, youtube.com/ribbittheater. Today, the Queen of Cups and I are analyzing these spooky, silly cartoon specters. Checking out their insanely huge arsenals and incredible feats and accomplishments, we're figuring out which one would win in a fight to the finish. Well, according to the Discord poll, Danny Phantom has this one in the bag, but Miss Chalice does have her fans. Will this be another upset like the previous episode, or will Fenton deal the finishing blow? Let's find out in Versus Battle Cards. Starting off with Miss Chalice, and she's an excellent running gunner, firing shots from her fingertips in all sorts of shapes, sizes, and varieties. She has the standard pea shooter, shots like spread and converge which fire in different directions. The chaser and crack shot can home in on enemies in different ways, the lobber and charge for doing a ton of damage, and the roundabout and twist up for shooting behind her or above her. Many of these shots can also be charged for super moves that are a lot bigger and do a lot more damage. It's not just her shots though, Chalice herself has some incredible supers too, like this giant screen covering beam that's a lot like Cuphead's, except it goes vertically instead of horizontal. She has a shield pal that can protect her from an extremely powerful hit, and her final super turns her into her long gone ancient form as she sends an army of ghosts at her opponent.
And don't forget, with Cuphead being a tribute to Rubber Hose animation, it's no surprise that Chalice would come equipped with some of that good old-fashioned Toon Force. Squashing, stretching, shrugging off dire situations like a cracked cup come naturally.
And we can see some of that while she's in her plane, as she can shrink herself down to avoid projectiles a lot easier. And on top of all of this, she also has ghost powers, ranging from flight, teleportation, invisibility, intangibility, telekinesis, possession, and even portal creation. And if all else fails, she could just use her charming nature to win people over. Which is kind of ironic because in the game, she can't use charms at all. When we move on to Danny, he is filled to the brim with all kinds of different ghost powers, many of which he can even use entirely in his base form. But if he needs a bit of extra speed, strength, and a good disguise, he can fully transform into a ghost. These powers include a ghost sense, which not only lets him know when a ghost is nearby, but can even tell him the exact location. He can of course fly, turn invisible, become intangible and phase through objects. He can use ecto-energy to fire beams out of his hands or even make a force field. And of course he can possess people, even when they're already being possessed by other ghosts. It doesn't stop there though. He can also shapeshift his body to avoid attacks, use a ghostly whale to blow foes away with sonic waves. He's even learned how to use ice powers. And he somehow figured out how to enter the digital plane by going through technology. Not only is Danny a ghost, but he's a ghost who can fight ghosts, and he has the gear to do it too. There's the Spectre Deflector, which protects the wearer from ghostly abilities. The Fenton Ghost Catcher, which can split a ghost in two, or remove the ghost from a mortal body in hybrids like Danny. Then, finally, there's the Fenton Thermos, a little tin can that sucks in ghosts like a vacuum. Even some of the strongest ghosts will struggle to resist its pull. So as far as the arsenal category goes, I'm gonna have to call it a tie. Danny does have more ghost powers than Chalice, but Chalice has more powers overall. All of her different shots and supers and Toon Force, but then we could come back around and say that Danny has gear specifically meant for fighting ghosts, which would pretty much disable a big chunk of Chalice's arsenal. So Chalice has the numbers and Danny has the gear to bring those numbers down until the score is even. Let's see what the YouTube predictions are thinking though. As for speed, Miss Chalice has avoided and moved in tandem with many bullet-like projectiles, and she's even dodged lightning at close range. But her most impressive feat is scaling to the Devil, a character that was able to successfully complete Santa's Christmas run for him.
Santa's Christmas trip around the planet is estimated to require speeds of roughly 6.5 million miles per hour, over a 32-hour period to account for nighttime all around the globe. The Devil only had until midnight to complete this task, however, and it was already dark when he started. Assuming he only had 3 hours to accomplish this, he should be 10 times as fast at 9% the speed of light.
As for Danny, he can outfly missiles from the government, many ghosts have shown the speed to be able to escape orbit, and his ecto beams have already been proven to move similar to lasers at the speed of light. He's also dodged plenty of those at point-blank range, so he should be at least 10 times faster than Chalice. They are neck and neck again when it comes to strength though. Chalice can take down building-sized giants, she can fight Grim Matchstick who can burn down small buildings, she aids in the destruction of Chef Saltbaker's kitchen, and she should definitely scale to Hildeberg who can create entire storms. Danny's in a similar boat, where many of his strongest ectoblasts can leave massive craters in the ground, and he can survive getting crushed into craters as well. Danny's ghostly whale can also knock his evil future self on his back, his evil self being powerful enough to destroy a specifically anti-ghost barrier that was protecting the entire city. Danny can also freeze multiple city blocks and has also fought opponents who can create storms. Both Danny and Chalice should match each other at city level, but let's see what the Discord predictions are thinking.
The skill and experience category is a bit wishy-washy depending on what backstory you'd like to go with for Chalice. In the show, she's just an orphan who got lucky with ghost power, but in the game, she's alluded to be an ancient legendary warrior with statues and temples built in her honor.
Danny has faced many opponents as well, a vast majority of which are ghosts like Chalice, so he has plenty of experience in her area. The creator of Danny Phantom has even come up with all kinds of 10 years later storylines for the characters, implying Danny will be doing this for a very long time. But I'm still gonna have to go with Chalice for this category. Yes, it entirely depends on which backstory you use for her, but there's no real reason to use the weaker one. However, despite that, the ultimate winner of this battle is still going to be Danny Phantom.
Banana oil.
I thought Chalice had this one for sure.
Honestly, for a while I thought so too. This is one of the closest and most difficult matchups for me to figure out in this entire show so far. They're both about equal and tied in strength, they both have tons to use against each other in their arsenal, Danny is slightly faster and Chalice has more experience. In the end though, I went with Danny because a portion of his arsenal is meant specifically for fighting other ghosts. The Spectre Deflector, Fenton Ghost Catcher, and the Fenton Thermos could all be used against Miss Chalice. And while it's much better to use her original game backstory, Chalice's show backstory is still there if you want to use it for some reason. Meanwhile, Danny's potentially 10 plus years of fighting specifically ghosts will always be there. The winner is Danny Phantom. But let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with this outcome? And thank you for predicting this episode. Special shout out to Ribbit Theater for helping research Miss Chalice. She did a great job. Links to her channel will be in the description or in the pinned comment. Now be sure to leave comments, chat in my Discord server, vote in the Discord poll, or make a video prediction to predict the next fight. Because next time we have a new kind of matchup, starring Aku Aku, Uka Uka, Lani Loli, Akano, Kapunoa, Ika Ika, Rocco, Lolo, Pyro, and Wawa. It's the Crash Bandicoot Mask Battle Royale.